There's a new me coming out, and I just have to live, and I wanna give. I'm completely positive. I think this time around I am gonna do it like you never knew it. Oh, I'll make it through. The time has come for me to break out of the shell. I have to shout that I am coming out. I'm coming out. I want the world to know.
Welcome to the show Never Too Late Ever, where we focus on making the next chapter of your life the very best chapter ever. I am your host, Lorraine Hoving, and I am thrilled that you are joining us today. This day will change your life. Open your heart, open your ears, and listen, and you will find a gem, a treasure that you can apply to your life today. And today I'm excited because this is the first time, I think this is about my 70th show, but this is the first time I have had two guests at the same time. So welcome, Gail and Catherine.
Thank you. We're so happy to be here with you.
Thank you, Lorraine.
Yeah. Now, no fighting over who gets the microphone.
Ah.
We're used to sharing.
Well, good. That's good. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about Gail and Catherine. First of all, Gail is a lifelong entrepreneur, the previous owner of two multi-million-dollar companies. For the past 20 years, she has coached business owners, their teams, and groups to practice creative leadership. 2 years ago, Gail began Wonder Women Mastermind, and now at age 78. Now, when I read this, I could not believe it because I met Gail at a conference, and she's quite the dancer, and I wouldn't think she was over my age, which is about 65. So you're amazing. You're in amazing shape, Gail, at 78.
Thank you.
She is excited to work with women in various stages of transition to reimagine life as they age. I love that. She is an author, speaker, mentor, and recipient of numerous awards. Catherine has been listening to women's stories for nearly 50 years as a mentor to female students, as instructor of women's issues, and as a researcher writer on women as learners and on vital women in their 70s. Her primary context has been innovative, customized degree programs for adult learners, most of whom are women. Now at age 70, Catherine has moved from a full-time faculty position to focus on her passion projects, women's learning and development through the lens of aging and adult learning through the lens of neuroscience. I love this. So welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
We're glad to be here.
So today you entitled our talk, Our Journey to Women Over 70 Podcast. So you had a journey to get, so you have a podcast that is for women 70 or over. I can't even speak on it because I'm only 65.
Right.
But anyways, it's for women 70 and over. But before that, you guys had quite the careers. And I would love you, like Catherine, do you want to start and tell us how did you get into the field of innovative higher education when you were younger?
Okay, thank you, Lorraine. Well, when I was an undergraduate at the University of Minnesota during the period of 1967 to 1971, I cast about for a major, and I finally landed on anthropology. But what the real learning was working as an academic tutor at a place called the Help Center, Higher Education for Low-Income People, which was a one-stop welcoming center for all the marginalized students of color, international students, older students, people who are getting federal or state aid, people coming out of prison. And that was what ignited my interest in working in this part of higher education that provides access to people who wouldn't typically have a chance to come for higher ed. And then that was the beginning, that was the major experimenting that was going on in higher education in terms of no grades and individualized curriculum and different approaches to assessing what people learned, and so that's what I got involved in right out of undergraduate school. I started working with a startup experimental program called University Without Walls.
I bet that was fulfilling. It just sounds like it could be very fulfilling to work in that field.
It's been fulfilling since 1971.
Wow.
I probably wouldn't be in higher education if it weren't for being able to work in those kinds of programs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Every student has their own powerful story and set of life circumstances, and we figure out ways to make education and learning fit for what they want to achieve.
Yeah. Sounds like it's very individualized to the student, and I like that.
Yes, very much so.
And so, Gail, what was your path to becoming a woman business owner? So it says that you were the owner of 2 multi-million-dollar companies, which is amazing in itself. So tell us your path to be, getting there.
You might say I was an accidental entrepreneur.
Oh, okay.
In that my actual field was, as Catherine's was education, and elementary school education. And I got married very young. I had not even graduated when I got married. I got pregnant.
From high school? Wow.
I got pregnant right away. I had not graduated from college, National College of Education at that time. Now it's National University. And so in those days, if you were lucky enough, you could be a stay-at-home mom. And so for 15 years, I stayed at home. I raised my children. And
How many children did you have, Gail?
3 children.
Okay.
And then one day, my marriage fell apart. And so my husband left. He left us with no money. He left us with nothing. He walked out. And for another woman, I might add. So
that's a lot to go through with 3 young ones at home and all the emotion of that. Yeah.
You're right about that. Anyway, so there I was. And my father, who had started a business many years earlier, invited me into his business. And I always say that he was very smart. He knew that he'd have to help support me anyway, and so he figured he'd get something for it.
Right. Yeah, but wow, he was there for you. So he's just giving you a helping hand, which helped you.
My goodness, no question.
Yeah.
He was probably the most creative person I knew business-wise. And so I like to say that I got my doctor's degree working for him. And in the 17 years that I did work for him, we increased the business dramatically. It became a multi-million-dollar business. And it certainly was very rewarding and so everything I learned about business, I learned from him. We had a large organization, and so that's how I got into business.
So
and then,
now you have a question here. What's distinctive about being a woman in, like a business owner, different than a job? What is distinctive about that to you?
Well, it's a really important distinction, because women today are flocking into business ownership and have been for many years, so that they can set their own schedules. They can have time with their children. They have some flexibility and control over what their lives look like. You might be interested to know, and this is according to WeBank statistics, that today, there are 12.3 million firms that are women-owned businesses. In 1972, there were only 402,000.
Oh my gosh, that is a startling stat.
It is. We employ 9 million people. We generate $1.7 billion in sales. And women-owned firms account for 51% 6% of all privately owned businesses. So today, more women than men are opening their own businesses.
Wow.
Half of women-owned firms, and you, I'm sure, would think this would be true, is that they are in service, health, and social assistance areas. Because that's what women know, right?
Yeah, they're nurturers. Yes. Yeah.
They
Go
are.
women, go. Those are amazing stats.
Yes.
So what has kept both of you in your respective fields for so many years? What kept you both there? How about you, Catherine? Start with what kept you there for so many years.
Okay, well, I think at several levels. One is that I was part of a movement in higher education to make education accessible for, as I said before, people who'd been shut out previously. And so I like being part of movements. I like the challenge. I like the vision, and being a player in that. But what kept me really going was the students themselves, being able to be with them in the classroom, mentor them in their individual projects, get to know their life aspirations, and just support them as they carried out their dreams. And that has been the most gratifying. I can't imagine a more fulfilling career for me.
Right. And what I can sense is the feeling of making a difference in their life is worth everything, right, Catherine?
Yes, it is. Yes,
yeah,
it certainly is. And so I also was able to create some new degree programs, and that's always frustrating and thrilling at the same time. And so part of what kept me going is that my work was multifaceted. I was never just doing one thing.
Yeah. So it varied, and so that kept your interest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how about for you, Gail? What has kept you in your field for being an entrepreneur for all these years?
Well, it's just very exciting for me, Lorraine, to bring a voice to small business owners. They pour their life savings into a vision they have, and being able to coach them. So I've been a business coach now for 20 years of small business owners. Wow. When I was in the liquor industry, I worked very closely with our franchisees. We franchised independent retail liquor stores. And the name, we were Foremost Sales Promotions, Inc. We were the franchisor. Our stores were called Foremost Liquor Stores. And our tagline was actually "Pay less, get more" at your Foremost Liquor Store, and people did. So, but what interested me a lot about that work was that I worked with franchisees who were primarily immigrants. They came from India, Pakistan, Greece, Lithuania. They were doctors, accountants, attorneys in their own countries, and they came here to give their children a better life. So I guess you could say that I have always been teaching, and that's what I love the most is teaching and helping businesses grow and be successful, helping them become the leaders that I know they can be.
Yeah, and that's neat because you know that you're helping them to be successful and make a better life for their family. So that in the same way that Catherine feels fulfilled, I think that we feel significance in our own life when we're helping somebody else realize their full potential.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm kind of curious now. How did your paths cross, Catherine and Gail? How did you guys become friends? I mean, I take it you're friends, right?
We actually are. We became friends slowly over a number of years. Everything that Catherine spoke about in terms of her students, she employed with me. I was her student.
Oh,
and
okay.
I went for my master's degree, Master of Arts in Applied Professional Studies at the School of New Learning at DePaul University. And Catherine was my faculty mentor.
Oh, okay. I love it.
Yeah, for 5 years, she nurtured me and kept me going. I got my degree finally in 2015. not very long ago, 5 years